You know, someday someone watching this video explain to me what's the purpose of doing this in parkland. And look over here. They just raised it all to the ground and then just piled the wood up. I don't know. I've never been able to figure out what was the purpose of doing this. This is not for development. This is parkland. So if you watch this video, let me know. What's the reason that, I guess fire control maybe? I don't know. Or some sort of habitat that, doesn't want to live in trees and, this is good habitat for some sort of wildlife. All right, just curious. Watching the world burn, watching the world burn. March 14th, 2026. Let's get into it. Sorry, it's a tough trail to hike. I got to watch where I'm putting my feet. So I can't look at the camera too much. Anyway, let's get on some news. I always try to help you out first. I haven't checked the price, but I bet the Mountain House is still selling at Amazon. Now, the last time I bought it, it was about $10 or $11. And, inflation's going to hit big time. So if you can pick up some, and I like the beef stew, that's my favorite, but you do you. There's all kinds of different flavors that you can get. And like I said, I'm pretty well set for what's coming. I mean, I will get into the facts of what's going on here in just 1 minute, but I always try to help you out ahead of time. I did some more research on the video studio. There's a new email, and I haven't checked it out. I just took notes on how to install it. But I've always used Thunderbird, and Thunderbird runs on both Windows and Linux, and it's always been my favorite email because I have multiple email accounts, and you don't have that way. I don't have to log into every single email account. When I want to look at the email, you just bring up Thunderbird and it loads all your email. Sorry, my nose is running a little bit. So they come up with a new email server called Betterbird. Now, I haven't used Betterbird yet, but I did talk to Grok about it, and I took a bunch of notes on it. And Grok says it is a better email solution than Thunderbird. And so I'm going to check it out. I got to put it on the laptop first. I got sick for a day or two. Then I got depressed because, I hate seeing U.S. soldiers coming back in body bags. And I guess it just hit me, that why would Trump do this? It didn't make any sense. Iran hasn't attacked anybody in 200 years, and we're just going to launch a preemptive strike, take out the supreme leader, which is the Pope, took out his brother, his mom, I'm not sure if it was dad, one of his granddaughters, and the new supreme leader. I'm thinking about that movie Death Wish. I bet he probably is a little pissed off that we killed his entire family. And reports are that he would have been injured too. So we don't know for sure on that. I know one thing, he's well hidden. We've done a good job killing we're good at killing civilians as a country. So we bombed the hell out of Tehran. Not too many military targets, from what I can tell, have been destroyed, especially in the, I want to say the eastern part of Iran. If you didn't know, Iran's the size of Europe. I mean, that's a vast country. So, and I'm from what I understand, a lot of their missiles are well away from, where our planes can fly. Speaking of planes, they did take out one of our fueling planes. I want to say C-135. I don't know. I've never been on one. But that's a 6-man crew, and they don't get to parachute out. So they were vaporized when they hit the ground, and this was over Iraq. So, and Trump, I tell you what, Trump has gone batshit crazy. I mean, the stuff he's posting on Truth Social, I mean, something's happened to him. He might have had a stroke or something. I mean, I've never heard the things coming out of his. I mean, he was on Brian Kilmeade, did an interview called the Iranians subhuman. He was talking like Adolf Hitler, talking about how they're genetically inferior to the rest of the world. I mean, just crazy shit, Nazi shit. I mean, he won't like that in 2016. And then he said something completely callous. They said, well, what about, you know, all the soldiers that are coming home in body bags? He says, well, that's just the nature of war. Yeah, Trump, that's the nature of war, all right? One that you started for no damn reason whatsoever. And then you say, well, what about their nuclear program? What about their nuclear program? Well, Putin has approached Trump 3 times now to give him an off-ramp, because we'll get into the Straits of Hormuz and all of that. And he said, look, you know, we've made a deal with the Iranians to take all of their, you know, fissile material that's 60% enriched uranium and bring it into Russia. And that way, you know, you can claim a victory that we've eliminated their nuclear program, because that was the original reason Trump was given. I mean, he's given so many batshit crazy reasons for going to war with Iran. The only reason we went to war with Iran is for Israel. There's no other reason for us to go to war halfway around the world with a country that hadn't even attacked us. You know, then it was, now he's going on about, oh, how Iran wanted to conquer the entire Middle East. They haven't got an army to go out and invade, you know, everywhere else. Plus, they're friends with everybody. I mean, there's a lot of Shia in Iraq. I assume there's still some in Syria. Oh, by the way, al-Jilani, the head chopper, Trump's new best buddy, that terrorist that we had a, $10 million bounty on his head, and now he's Trump's best friend. And, you know, he's supposedly the president of Syria. The militias in Iraq told him if he invades Lebanon, they're going to come up against him. So that should lock him in place. I did want to talk about the militias in Iraq for a moment, because I'm hearing rumors that they're attacking. I think we have 2 bases in Iraq. I talked to Grok about this before I came out. I can't remember the name of it. Emir, I want to say. So there's one big base where most of our soldiers are, and there's one little base. And if it's true, the militias are attacking those bases, what the hell are we going to do about it? How the hell do you get those troops out? It's not like they can get on trucks and ride in a convoy through all of Iraq to get the hell out. And you're not going to be able to land planes in there to get them out. And then how long, I mean, I guess you could drop in supplies, but how long can they last out against 50 million people who are pissed off because we killed over 1 million Iraqis? You know, we all wanted Trump to get our troops out of the Middle East, but we didn't want them coming home in body bags. You know, we wanted them out, you know, just taken out peacefully. Anyway, yeah, we won't, peacefully or not, we won't be in the Middle East much longer. The Iranians have blown the ever-living snot out of 7 of our bases. They just hit the base in Saudi Arabia. We had 7 refueling planes there. Like I said, I can't remember the nomenclature, C-135 or whatever. And they didn't take them out, but they did damage them. But from what I understand, they can be easily repaired, so they'll be back online unless the Iraqis can hit that base again, which it looks like they can. They've been firing nonstop missiles now for 3 weeks. I'm sure you ought to know from my last video, the Straits of Hormuz, the Iranians have shut it down. Now, before I came out for the hike, McGregor, because they haven't mined it, all they're doing is they've hit a couple of oil tankers as examples, and I'm not sure if they're leaking that oil into the straits there, but that'd be an ecological disaster. And they hit also, the Iranians hit a cargo ship. Well, that's all they needed to do, really, to shut down the straits, because no, they can't get insurance for those ships, nor would you want to take your ship through there. So then there was another Alex from the Duran. He was reporting that Iran, so McGregor said they're mining it. I don't believe that. I haven't cross-referenced that, but McGregor's got good sources. I'll tell you what, Colonel McGregor. But Alex from the Duran said, no, Iran is actually has told all the ships that are bottled up on both sides of this from the straits that they can transit the straits if they pay Iran ransom money in yuan. Now, if you didn't know the yuan, that's the Chinese currency, that would be hilarious if, because all those petrodollars are coming home. So I think we're going to see a financial crisis. Certainly coming out here, I was paying $2.80 a gallon for gas. Right now it's $3.60. This is here in Florida. But there was a video of a guy in California. And the price of gas there was over $8 a gallon. And this thing's just getting started. The straits have only been shut down for, well, I want to say 14 days. Yeah, today's the 14th day. So something like that. Yeah. Anyway, so, you know, as this thing goes on, you know, and by the way, that we have nothing coming out of the Middle East, okay? There's one Saudi pipeline that goes down to another place, but they can only run so much oil through that. And we just hit the, if you didn't know, Iran has an island, Craig Island. That's where they do most of their refining. And let me explain oil to you for 1 second. You know, oil, when you pump it out of the ground, it's not just, you know, okay, I can just take this oil and put it into a tanker. You have to clean that oil up. It's got water in it. It's got sand, dirt, you know, all kinds of things. So, you know, Saudi Arabia and these Arab countries, the UAE, they have their own facilities for cleaning up that oil before they load it onto tankers and get it out. Well, number one, nothing's getting loaded on tankers. And so no oil, but the Middle East is not just about oil, you know. So, and I think the number's 30, they have 30% of the, no, it might be 25% of the world's oil supply used to go through the Straits of Hormuz. So, and then of course, you've also got liquefied natural gas, LNG, okay? And that supposedly is 30% of the world's supply of liquefied natural gas used to go through the Straits of Hormuz. And as I'm learning more, I didn't realize helium, which is a byproduct, I guess, of getting oil, that's been cut off. I can't remember the percentage, but helium, if you didn't know, it's used in the manufacture of semiconductors. So now South Korea, they're not going to be getting their helium, or Taiwan, to be able to manufacture semiconductors. So you can see how this is all spiraled. Oh, and then of course, agriculture. A lot of the world's fertilizer used to transit the Straits of Hormuz. So a lot of countries, they're going to be starving. Now, how soon can we get the oil back up? Well, Trump, like I said, turned down Putin's offer to end the war. So that means that, you know, we're going to keep going here. And I don't know what the hell Trump's thinking. I would have taken that off for him and said, yeah, hell yeah, we made a mistake. Let's try to end this thing, and we get the fissionable material so that, because if you're Iran, don't you think you're developing a nuclear bomb now? You know, we haven't attacked North Korea, have we? Nope. Oh, rumors are that North Korea, and I actually have a post from Kim Jong-un that we might do a reading here in a little while. But they did, I know Pakistan said it, I'm not sure about North Korea, but they said that if Israel resorts to nukes to nuke Iran, they're going to nuke Israel. Speaking of Israel, I think you know, it's a news blackout, but unconfirmed now, but it looks to me like they're getting the snot blasted out of them by Iran as a sideshow. Iran's mainly focused on our U.S. bases and driving the United States out of the Middle East. And I think he will, because if you're the UAE and you're getting the snot blown out of you, and if you're Saudi Arabia and you're getting the snot blown out of you, and if you're Iraq and you're getting the snot blown out of you, you know, and I can't remember where the other bases are, you going to want Americans in your country anymore? That's another thing we kind of got to hit on is reports are we're pretty much out of THAAD and Patriot missiles. And the reason I know that is we're stripping the THAADs from South Korea and sending them to the Middle East to protect Israel. This is all about Israel. In fact, that's one of the things that pissed off. That's why I said that these bases in these Arab states are going away, because we stripped the Arab states of their missile protection and gave it to Israel because we were trying to protect Israel. So we didn't give a shit about Saudi Arabia or the UAE or Qatar or any of this. By the way, Qatar got hit. They've been staying out of the war for the most part. I don't think we've been using their base for operations, but you know, they're upset because Iran hit them. They hit just about everybody in the Middle East, and it's continuing day after day. Now, reports are they've been using their old stuff, you know, drones, missiles that they made 20 years ago. They're just now getting to the hypersonics and the new stuff. And from what I understand, these new missiles, you know, like the old missiles might have had, let's say, 1,000-pound warhead. Well, these new missiles now, I think they're up to like 2,000-pound warhead. When you drop a 2,000-pound bomb on somebody, you know, imagine 2,000-pound bomb going off in Tel Aviv. That's going to do some serious damage. And that's on top of the damage that's already been done to Israel. Speaking of Israel, they hit another tent camp with incendiaries, setting all the Palestinians there on fire. So they're still continuing their genocide of the Palestinians. But the other one that was interesting, they told the Lebanese to get out of Beirut. And then when they set up tent camps along the beach, they hit the beach with a bomb. They didn't hit it with incendiaries. So they're still trying to exterminate the Lebanese. I mean, you know, Israel's like a mad dog. You know, they've gone to war with 7 countries since October the 7th. They've been bombing everybody. You know, they've pissed off the entire Middle East. I mean, it's crazy. So anyway, I think we're going to see right now they're artificially suppressing the oil prices. So we're hovering right around $100 a barrel. But as you know, as this continues, they're not going to be able to suppress that price. Now Iran says they're going to drive it up to $200 a barrel. So you're probably going to be looking at, I don't know, $7 a gallon, depending on where you are. I guess if you're in California, it'll be $16 a gallon. You know, one of the things that got me out today, like I told you, I was pretty doggone depressed. I got to thinking about things in a positive way. Sometimes in your brain, you can spin things a positive way, and I encourage you to develop that talent. But I got to thinking way back, I don't know if you remember the oil crisis. It was years ago. I can't remember what caused it, but gas shot up to about $4 a gallon, and a buddy of mine had sold me his Geo Metro. At that time, that car, it had a 3-cylinder engine and it got 100 miles to the gallon. But this guy, you know how some people treat their cars, they never wash them. You know, they're just a trash heap. You know, I mean, you know, they haven't been vacuumed in 10 years, you know. I guess they do change the oil, otherwise the car would quit running. Well, anyway, this car, I mean, it had cigarette butts in it and just, you know, spilt Coke and everything else. It was just, it looked like trash, you know. So I bought it off of him dirt cheap. And the good news was he had put a lot of money into it to fix it up, because he was in the same boat I was. They moved my office from Dearborn, Michigan to Troy, Michigan. So my commute went from 10 minutes to an hour and a half. I was pretty upset about that. In fact, eventually they laid me off because I was such a disgruntled employee, because I didn't take that job to drive back and forth to Troy, Michigan. That 75 is a freaking nightmare when you get near Troy if you haven't never been to Michigan. Anyway, so he sold it to me for $2,000, and I cleaned it up. I spent days. I like cleaning cars. So I sat there, I vacuumed it out, and I had all my car cleaning materials, you know, and in the end, it really shined up nice. But at the time, I had a pickup truck, and I had another car, and my wife had a car. I didn't need 4 cars. So I was looking, you know, my idea was always to flip it, but I timed it just perfect. At $4 a gallon, man, I put that thing out, it sold in one day for about $5,000, so I flipped a $3,000 profit. And back then, money was worth a lot more. This was many years ago. So now, you know, I don't know, in previous videos I told you, I went over on the motorcycle. And I I hurt myself pretty bad. In fact, it's about 95% healed, but I still have pain where it might have broke, partially broke a rib. If you don't know, when you break a rib, usually you don't have to go into surgery, you just have to wait for it to heal. So I just waited for it to heal. I never even saw a doctor. But I was in a lot of pain for a month or two. Anyway, the moral of the story is I'm scared to ride the motorcycle. But it's a Honda 80V 150 that gets 100 miles to the gallon. And so I figured what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and sell it. Once gas prices hit about $6, $7, $8 a gallon, I'm going to go ahead and flip that motorcycle. I paid about $4,500 for it. I guarantee you I can get about $8,000 for it now at 100 miles to the gallon. And you say, well, why did you buy the motorcycle if you were... Before I broke my neck, I was a good motorcycle rider, okay? I was pretty strong and in shape. And my idea, I didn't know my wife was going to divorce me at that time. I also bought a Toyota Prius Prime because I thought, we would see gas prices way up long before now. And so, by the way, we released the strategic oil reserves again. Biden, he drained those way down. So I think there's only 20% left in our strategic oil reserves. So, hey, Trump, chump, crazy Trump, that ain't going to last very long keeping oil prices down. So good luck with that. Biden saw to that. Anyway, getting back, so that made me feel good. Because if I get about $7,000, $8,000, I can pay off some loans and be done with it. I still got a loan on my life insurance policy, and I got a loan on the windows those hurricane windows that I put in the house. We've talked about those in past videos, and I always encourage you to do home improvements before inflation hit. Oh, that's the other thing, that China may be cutting us off from rare earth because of the war with Iran. If you didn't know, there's rare earth metals. About 90% of the world's rare earth metals are refined in China, and we need those to build weapon systems. Well, we might not be getting them. I don't know what Trump's going to negotiate with China, but boy, I tell you, he pissed off the whole damn world. Think about Japan. Japan's supposed to be an ally. I think, and Japan gets about 70% of its oil supply or petroleum from Iran, or from the Middle East. Okay, well, they're not getting no oil right now. South Korea, they get a lot of their oil. China gets about 20% of its oil from the Middle East. So you can see where countries, and boy, the Europeans, they are batshit crazy, aren't they? Oh my God. I don't think you want to, oh, hey, by the way, I forgot to tell you, the TWA, the Democrats won't fund Homeland Security because they want the ICE agents to take off their masks. So right now, if you go to an airport, I'm hearing it's going to, because 300 TSA employees just quit because they're not getting paid. Maybe they'll rehire them after, if the Democrats ever approve a budget for them. But anyway, so if you go to an airport right now, I heard at some airports the wait is up to 5 hours. Whew, I wouldn't want to be flying right now. Although those airplane tickets are going to start getting very expensive as that jet fuel goes up. So that's going to get crazy too. What else? Well, we talked about food. In past videos, we've talked about alternate water supplies and all of that. As I think of things, we'll add to the video here in just a minute. Like I said, we may do a reading. I got some good posts here in a bit. And, but I want to add some more talking head stuff because I know there's more I haven't hit on yet. You can't think of everything as you go through the news. I've only hit you with everything that we know for sure. The war death numbers. Well, it's been released now, so we got 6 dead off that plane that went down for sure. And so the government, if you want to believe the Trump government, lies about everything. They're saying 30 dead, about 150 wounded. And we know it's probably more than that because right now the hospitals, I reported on this previous video, the hospitals in Germany are not taking pregnant women because their primary function is to take care of U.S. soldiers that are injured. So, and they've asked the soldiers on the base in Germany, and maybe I'm sure the German people, to start giving blood. So if you're asking for blood, you know, there's only one reason for that, right? So we know that, now those are the numbers that are confirmed. I think it's going to be much, much more, because the damage that I'm seeing to these military bases, there was one drone, I can't remember what it hit. Oh, it hit the base in Bahrain. Now, somebody reported that the king of Bahrain has fled the country. So, because if you didn't know, that's about an 80% Shia country ruled by 20% Shias. And, you know, with Iran blowing the hell out of the U.S. military base, propping up the government there, I would imagine there's an open revolt on the government. I heard that Saudi had sent in troops to Bahrain to maybe prop up the government, but if the king is left, things could be pretty dire there, and they've been getting hit. But the video that I saw, I just want to describe this. This is how I know that our air defenses are all but non-existent, because this was an old drone. If you didn't know how those old drones are, it's just a lawnmower engine. They're loud as hell, and they're slow as hell. And I mean, it came down on that base. I tell you what, they must be able to carry a lot of explosive. It was a big explosion. But the thing that blew my mind, and of course all our radars are gone too, you know that, and they took those out with some drones. I mean, but there was nothing shooting at that drone before it hit the base. You know, no missiles went up. You know, you could knock one of those drones out of the air, and the Russians and the Ukrainians do it, well, they used to do it all the time. The new drones have gotten a lot faster. You know, those German 3 drones, they're jet propulsed. They're fast as hell, man. You wouldn't be taking them out with a machine gun or a shotgun, but early on in the war, they were taking out the drones just by shooting at them. Well, nothing shot at this drone. This is an easy drone to hit if you're any kind of shot at all, especially if you got a nice machine gun, you know, which on a military base. So it seems like there's just nothing protecting these bases whatsoever. So, so I wanted to get on the good part of the story. And this made me feel good. You know, one of the things I wanted Trump to do was bring our troops home. You know, America first. I'm an American firster, not Israel first. Israel last, America first. You know, if we want to help Israel a little bit, but Israel is a genocidal administration. I would just assume we pull all aid from Israel. Let them survive on their own, you know, if they're going to commit genocide. But anyway, so I got to thinking about it. I said, well, you know what? Trump has single-handedly, now you might say he's playing 5D chess or 6D chess or whatever, but he has single-handedly eliminated the empire. No way we survive as an empire after this. I don't think there's any way possible we're going to have bases in the Middle East anymore. Okay, and we're stripping our base in South Korea. You know, like I said, we're the THAADs. And also, you know, we have bases around, you know, trying to surround China. I would imagine those bases will come up. We're not going to be able to afford all of this. You know, I mean, good Lord, we're spending, I want to say it's $11 billion a day on the war. And we've been going at it for, what, 3 weeks now? 4 weeks? I don't even know where we're at, day 14 something, you know. So, and we had already spent a ton of money on the Venezuela operation. I mean, this has got to come to an end. And then, of course, Trump has probably ended the military-industrial complex. So their influence over the government is going to be over. Because if they can't make weapons, they're not going to get weapons contracts. If they can't get weapons contracts, those stocks are going to go way down. Now, I'm not saying those companies, Lockheed Martin or Northrop Grumman or, you know, any of those are going to go out of business right away. But, you know, I don't think we're going to be able to replace, because you got to think about this. And just use your common sense for a minute. For 4 years, Trump and Biden have given just massive amounts of weapons to Ukraine. And then Europe gave all of their U.S. weapons to Ukraine on the chance that they were going to buy back those weapons from the United States. Well, if the United States can't manufacture weapons, Europe can't even rearm. So, I wanted to talk about Europe for just a minute. Think about, they depend on the Middle East. You got to remember, we blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. That was the first thing we did to cut Europe off from cheap Russian oil and liquefied natural gas. And of course, Germany was happy about that. Yeah, you blew up our pipeline in the United States. Thank you. Thank you so much. Because they're just vassals of the United States, But now, and so then they they sanctioned Russia, so they can't get any liquefied natural gas out of Russia now. And then, now they've completely cut themselves off, and Putin has come out and said, yeah, that's fine. We don't need to give Europe anything. So now they can't get oil or gas from Russia. They can't get it from the Middle East. The only place they can get it is the United States. And remember, you have to transit an entire ocean with a tanker to get the liquefied natural gas over there. And if the prices go through the roof, from what I understand, right now the prices have for gas has quadrupled in Great Britain. Can you imagine trying to fill up your car? I mean, luckily, I don't need gas. My car runs on electricity, for the most part. I mean, unless I go a long distance, and then the gas, that's why I went to Prius Prime, the gas tank kicks in. So if gas goes to $8 a gallon, it doesn't really affect me. Now, I imagine my electrical prices are going to go up, and that would hurt. But yeah, Europe is in a world of hurt. They're going to have to completely deindustrialize, or just let their population, have no electricity, no nothing, and try to keep. But if people are pissed off, you think they're going to go to work in your manufacturing? Europe is screwed. Trump destroyed Europe. I mean, I'm not trying to laugh and say this is all good news. Trump literally destroyed the world. I think he's the Antichrist, or it's just a way to destroy the empire and bring everything back home, which is what we're going to have to do. There's no way we can maintain the empire any longer, and I do think the dollar is going to go to zero because nobody's going to want the petrodollar is dead. You understand that? The only reason we had the petrodollar was because the Middle East used dollars to trade oil. Well, there's no oil coming out of the Middle East. So nobody's transacting in petrodollars anymore. So guess who benefited the most from Trump's actions? Which I find ironic because Russia is a Christian Orthodox nation. So he really helped out the Christians. And I'm glad because they do have a reverence for God, and I want to see a Christian nation do good. And but anyway, they have already raised the price of their oil. I mean, they're making like another 100 billion a month or something, because everybody wants Russian oil at this point, and they're charging a premium for it. And then if you didn't know, Modi, for whatever reason, he cozied up with Israel against Iran. So Iran ain't going to sell India. Well, that's another country that's massively affected. They have a huge industry in India. India gets most of their oil from the Middle East. So they're not getting any oil. And Iran, I think from this point on, even if everything opens back up, Iran's not going to sell India any oil. I mean, like you see the domino effect here of how crazy this has all gotten. All thanks to Emperor Trump, the Antichrist. I do think he's the Antichrist. I don't know. Or maybe Netanyahu is, and Trump is just his demon minion. That's the only thing I can think of. All right, so we hit on the Europe, liquefied natural gas. Just trying to run through my brain. Like I said, I'm sure I'll think of something else. I'm not moving real fast. I'm still fat and out of shape. Like I said, I got sick, and I haven't been getting my exercise away. If I don't exercise 3-4 times a week, it really affects me, especially since I broke my neck. All right, let's think about things, and we'll get some more on the video here. Oh yeah, there was a recent episode with Barnes, and I think it was Daniel Davis Deep Dive. And boy, I tell you, he is one sharp cookie. I encourage you to go and watch that episode. It was fairly recent. It dropped I want to say last week. Well, or this week. It depends on, some people say the week starts on Sunday. So anyway, and Barnes was talking about he does a lot of gambling, and he said the poly market right now is betting that the Democrats are going to just hammer the Republicans because of what Trump has done in the midterms. Now, don't get me wrong, that depresses the hell out of me. Like I said, I've always told you there are a few good Republicans, and I admit most of them are bad, but there are no good Democrats. In fact, in my opinion, all Democrats are evil. Just my opinion. So we're going to have an even more evil government. But the good news is that I want to see some justice here. They said, because Barnes was saying, and he's usually right about a lot of things. I think this is my trail. Oh, good. We're already here. We're getting close to the picnic table. So, yeah, so he said that the poly market's predicting the Democrats, and he said once the Democrats are in, they'll impeach deep state Pam Bondi. Now, I'm not sure we'll get anything better than Pam Bondi, but, you know, she hasn't prosecuted a single person for anything. Whatever's left of the Epstein files would probably get dropped if there's anything left. I mean, I imagine right now they've shredded just about everything and deleted everything off of the servers. I'm not sure how good they can clean those NSA servers, because those are redundant backups. But, you know, you would have to have the NSA provide you those files. But I imagine think about it. I'm sure they're all gone at this point, so we're not going to get anything out of that. They said that Trump would definitely get impeached, and if they get a routing of the Republicans in the Senate, then we could see, what is it called, Article 25, and Trump will no longer be president. I would love to have J.D. Vance in there to replace Trump, because like I said, I think Trump has lost his mind. I think he had a stroke or something. I don't know, or maybe invasion of the body snatchers. Somebody, put him in a mind machine like in Star Trek, when Kirk was in that mind machine and changed Trump completely. Even Barnes who's been a long time Trump supporter. He said, he was talking about the same thing. He said, I've never seen anything like this. He said, Trump has become a completely different thing. Of course, he portrayed MAGA, Israel first, America second. And then Trump, I forgot that statement. He came out and said, since we produce so much oil here in the United States, high prices are a good thing. Well, yeah, it's probably a good thing for oil companies. If you want to buy some oil stocks, that'd be good. But since high gas prices is going to affect everything, understand those trucks that bring you your food at the grocery store, if that diesel doubles in price, your food's going to double in price. So, and then for Trump to come out and say, well, this is a good thing for the prices to go up. Maybe for you, Trump, and the billionaires and the oil companies, but it is not a good thing for the American people. It seems like Trump just don't give he's like a European leader. He doesn't give a crap anymore about the American people whatsoever. And then, of course, that was another thing that was bugging me. I don't know if you remember from 2016 to 2020, Trump had a real place in his heart for any Americans, soldiers that were killed. A lot of times he would meet them at the airport, and he would, basically showed that he cared a lot. Well, from what I can tell, he hasn't met a single soldier that's come back in a body bag yet. So, and of course, I told you about that statement that he made. Well, that's just the cost of war. Dead soldiers. Yeah, Trump, that's the cost of war. Why don't you send your kid, over there, or your kids? Let them do some fighting. That's one thing. I wish we had a law in the Constitution that any leader of a country that takes their country to war has to send their children to fight in that war. Then I think that would eliminate a lot of war. Oh, that's another thing that made me happy. This, if you got no more weapons, because we're going to be out soon, because we can't even make bombs, because that requires cotton and some of those rare earth elements. So we can't make bombs. We can't make missiles no more. We're going to be out of everything. If the war goes on for another 3 weeks or so, we're going to be just about out of everything. We gave we gave so much to Ukraine, and we've given, by the way, it's not like we didn't continue giving stuff to Israel. So what we didn't give to Ukraine, we gave to Israel to exterminate the Palestinians. So they went through a lot of our weapon stock. And now we started a war with Iran. And by the way, Ukraine is still going on. I don't know where Ukraine's going to get its weapons now. Because Israel is top priority. Ukraine is just chump change at this point, which is another thing that makes the Russians happy. So anyway, so I did want to talk about that. So that was one of the things. And also, you know, I shouldn't cheer this on, but Israel turned into such a pariah. Now, I don't wish anything bad on the Jewish people that exist in Israel, and we're against everything the Zionists were doing. But I'm glad to see the Zionists taking it on the chin. You know, they're the ones who wanted war with Iran. They're the ones who bombed 7 countries, not the Jews. Okay, a Jew and a Zionist are two completely different animals. If you want to go around on YouTube, there's videos on the difference and what their religion is. A Zionist is pretty much an atheist, and they're genocidal lunatics. And I got no problem seeing Israel cease to exist, which is another thing I think Trump has brought about. You know, I've told you many times in the past, I said, if Israel keeps acting the way it is, it's going to cease to exist. Well, I think we're in the beginning or even the mid stages of Israel ceasing to exist as a country. I mean, think about it. Their international airport's been shut down for about 2 or 3 weeks. I think Iran hit their oil refinery, so they can't get that. Now, Iran hasn't hit Israel depends on their water desalination plants. Iran has not hit those yet, but Israel did hit Iran's water desalination plant. So Iran has more or less just been doing tit for tat. Now, I will tell you this. You want to think the world's going to go into a depression. Trump has just come out and threatened to hit Iran's oil infrastructure. And Iran said, you do that, Trump, we're lighting up the whole Middle East. So all that oil infrastructure, I was telling you that, you know, those plants that have to get all the sand and water out of the oil before they can load it on the tankers, that's all going to get destroyed. I mean, even right now, if everything ended today, no oil's coming out of the Middle East. And I'm talking about the Straits of Hormuz opening up, the tankers being able to move. No oil's coming out for at least 3-4 more weeks. Because when you cap off, it's kind of, I don't know how to describe it. You know, when you cap off an oil well, it's not like you flip a circuit breaker and the oil well comes back online. No, it's gonna take the Arab nations, well, assuming they're still around, a couple of 3 weeks just to bring the oil online. And then by the time you load up the tankers, I would say we're looking at about a month, 2-month delay. That's with everything into today. 2-month delay for anybody to get oil anywhere, or in liquefied natural gas and helium and fertilizer, all that stuff. So it's already gotten crazy, but it's not ending today. Iran told Trump, because Trump's been telling them, you need to unconditionally surrender, which is the most absurd thing I've ever heard in my life. That's why I said Trump has lost his freaking mind. But yeah, you know, Iran told Trump, pardon my French, fuck off. We're gonna continue the war until you leave the Middle East. Here's Iran's requirements right now. Leave the Middle East, okay? Pay reparations for the damage that you've done to Iran, the Western nations, not necessarily just the United States. And what was the third one? I can't remember. Anyway, none of those Trump's going to agree to. Oh yeah, there was, now they're saying that we're loading 5,000 Marines onto ships to go over, but I don't see how that's going to work. How are you logistically going to get 5,000 Marines on the ground in Iran? They're not going to be able to go through Iraq, you know, because the Iraqi militias would take them out. So you could come in through Kazakhstan, I think, you know, maybe you could come across the border there, but the Iranians will light them up, you know, because they know where they're coming from. And then some idiots are saying, well, we'll send in Delta Force and go get their uranium. how in the hell is a helicopter with Delta Force on it going to fly all the way across Iran and not get shot down, land, get into the tunnel somehow, blow their way in, and get, I don't even know how many pounds of uranium it is. They said it's enough for 11 nuclear bombs. They're going to get the uranium, which is radioactive. Somehow they would have to cap it off, get it back to the helicopter, and fly out. Ain't going to happen. I mean, there's no way. I mean, even if you're not military, I mean, you got to know that just ain't going to work. I mean, they said, well, what about Venezuela? Well, Venezuela, we bought everybody off. They pretty much handed us Maduro on a silver platter. And then, of course, I think there was a conspiracy for this government with that woman. Can't remember her name. Anyway, she took over. She was the vice president. She just took over in place of Maduro. Speaking of Maduro, has anybody heard anything on him? I wonder where he's at and what's going on there. I haven't seen anything about a trial or what they're going to do with him or what, I mean, we took him and his wife. So I wonder where his wife is, All right, so I told you if I thought of something else, we'd hit on it. But yeah, we're in a world of hurt. So, but like I said, the good news is Israel will cease to exist. I'm predicting that. I'm predicting that all of our bases will be shut down and no American soldier will be in the Middle East before too long. I'm predicting the end of the empire, so, which is a good thing. I want to see all of our troops come back home and take care of the United States. And see, that's part of the good news. If Israel is out of the way and they're gone, okay, that means that their influence over the United States government, I mean, we've still got the Zionist billionaires that could buy off, but there's no Israel anymore to back, if it ceases to exist. So what are you going to do? I mean, I guess the Zionists could take over the U.S. government. All right, man. Peace out. Like I said, those things make me feel good. I always wanted all our troops to come home anyway. Peace out. Stay free. All right, let's get to the reading portion of the video. We'll go through a few X-posts. This is one that just came out. I haven't cross-referenced this one, but it says the USS Harry Truman crew is breaking. The carrier keeping this war alive is falling apart from the inside. Nobody is talking about this. A post just went viral with 4,700 likes from someone claiming to be on the crew of America's most critical warship. In this conflict is at a breaking point, and the details are devastating. Process that. The problem, the USS Harry Truman, and it's not just at Harry Truman. You got to remember, a lot of these carriers have been at sea. We had that, remember the shit storm? What carrier was that on? Was that on the Ford where all the toilets were backed up? But yeah, imagine these crews, when you're at war, I mean, it takes it out of you. I mean, it's a 24/7 job. So let's just read this. I don't know if it's true, but first, Harry Truman was originally deployed for a standard rotation. First extension diverted to for Venezuela operations. Second extension rerouted to the Mediterranean as a show of force for Iran. The crew believed they were going home. They got sent to a war instead. They've been at sea far beyond their original mission timeline. The math on the carrier crew, 5,000 plus sailors and airmen live on the ship. Standard deployment, 7 to 9 months. Extended deployments destroy retention rates by 40 to 60%. Mental health incidents triple after month 8. The Navy's own studies show combat readiness drops 30% in overextended crews. Crew fatigue, slower reaction times, and people die. Extended deployments, families breaking apart back home. Sailors distracted in a combat zone. Maintenance cycles get snipped when carriers stay too long at sea. Mechanical failures. The carriers turning into an exhausted crew in a hostile waters is a $13 billion liability, not an asset. So I forgot to talk about this, the changing nature of war. And Iran has proven it. Trump keeps bragging that we've sunk Iran's Navy. Well, yes and no. They had about, 7 frigates or something like that? Yeah, we've sunk those. And they had 2 diesel submarines. I'm not sure we've gotten those. I haven't seen any reports. But the majority of Iran's Navy are these speedboats, more or less, with missile mounted on them and machine guns and stuff. And they're very fast. They're tough to hit, even from a carrier. And they were just meant to be, so This is your new Navy. Okay, having big floating carriers and battleships and destroyers floating around, they're just targets for hypersonic missiles these days. So our entire Navy is completely obsolete. The same goes for a lot of our conventional forces. You know, if you look at what's going on in Ukraine, drones are the future of warfare. Ground drones, you know, the Terrain 3s, jet-powered drones. And in Russia, they can make a drone, let's say 10, 20,000. Well, because we have a military-industrial complex that's for profit, they get 10%. And, you know, they want to make the most expensive drone possible. I can't remember what some of those drones cost, but it's in the millions upon millions of dollars for just one drone, whereas Russia is cranking them out for 10, 20,000. Same with Iran. All Iran's drones are 10, 20,000. Now, we built these $1 million Patriot missiles to shoot down a $20,000 drone. You do the math. It ain't going to work out. Our entire military infrastructure has to change to model Iran and model Russia. Just my slant on that. Here's the one from Kim Jong-un. I just wanted to read this because I thought it was an interesting post. If Donald Trump fights Iran today, it is because he believes that country cannot stand up to him. That is why he does not dare provoke my country, North Korea, nor China, nor Russia, because it knows very well our power and our missiles. We are capable of making all of the United States disappear with a single missile. He seeks conflicts with countries he believes are unable to respond. Throat's getting dry. But if Iran truly wanted, it could bombard a large part of America. It is simply that they fear causing the death of a large number of American civilians. Threats do not prove power. The true power of a country is seen in peace, justice, and respect for human life. Coming from Kim Jong-un, I couldn't agree with him more. Never thought I'd agree with North Korea. This is Sprinter Press, real quick. An informed Iraqi source. The evacuation of dozens of soldiers from 5 European countries, including France and Italy, has begun from the Al Hariri base in Erbil was shelled. The evacuation process has taken place due to growing concerns following frequent attacks on the Al Hariri base. European soldiers are rushing to leave Iraq for fear of their own lives due to the inability of military bases to provide them with protection. The same situation exists among American soldiers, but the U.S. regime is hiding this information from the public. I told you the death numbers are much higher. The casualties are much higher than what's being reported. The Trump administration is lying. This is one. The Iran just told the UAE civilians to evacuate. This is the most dangerous moment of the entire war. This is not a warning, this is a countdown. Iran's Revolutionary Guards just issued an unprecedented public evacuation notice to every person living near U.S. military sites in the UAE. Read their exact words. Evacuate all ports, docks, and areas hosting U.S. forces to avoid harm. Process that. A country doesn't issue public evacuation warnings to another country's civilians unless they're about to strike. The UAE hosts the Al Drafriya Air Base, America's largest air base in the Middle East. The UAE hosts Jebel Ali Port, the busiest port in the entire region. And the UAE hosts 3,500 U.S. military personnel across multiple facilities. Dubai is home of 200,000 plus American civilians. And Abu Dhabi's financial district sits 12 miles from Al Drafriya. Iran has already hit Al Drafriya. Satellite images show half of the barracks wiped out. Iran has already hit 5 U.S. refueling planes at the Prince Sultan base in Saudi Arabia. I thought it was 6, but he's saying 5. Iran has already destroyed a $300 million U.S. radar with a $20,000 drone. Iran has already hit the CRAM system protecting the U.S. embassy in Baghdad. There were also reports that if you didn't know, the embassy complex in Iraq is a humongous, it's like a military base, more or less. They call it an embassy. And Iran has reportedly hit that. I'm not sure how bad the damage was. Every single warning Iran has made in this war, they have followed through. The UAE is the financial capital of the Middle East. 400 billion in foreign assets. Dubai's real estate just started crashing, down 21% since the war began. Emirates airline at less than 60% capacity, worst since 9/11. Oil at 102 and climbing. This is day 15. Okay, good. I was getting that right, but it might be 16 now. Iran has not missed a single escalation window. They're showing you ceasefire rumors and diplomatic process, but they're not showing you that Iran just told an entire country to run. You don't issue a public evacuation for leverage. You issue an evacuation warning when the missiles are ready to fly. And the missiles are ready when you've decided to pull the trigger. The single most dangerous escalation since the war began. If Iran hits UAE civilian infrastructure, ports, airports, financial districts, the global economy doesn't just shake, it breaks. Today is the worst day of this war, and tomorrow could be worse. Prepare accordingly. All right, we're going to finish. The video has gotten really long. Maybe I'll think of something on the way back. Beautiful day, by the way. So glad I got out for a hike. Like I said, I got sick and then got depressed. But I'm not depressed no more. Peace out. Stay free. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. Grow a garden. All right, I had to hit on some other topics. You know, good news for silver. It's back down around 81. Last I looked. I don't have any money, so I can't really pick any up. Maybe when I sell that motorcycle, if the price is still there, I'll pick up some, maybe. The other thing that has baffled me was why nobody in the Pentagon has resigned or seems to push back against these illegal orders that Trump has given. I mean, where is the hell is our officer corps in the military? I mean, it used to be some sort of checks and balances, but they just seem to be saying yes to whatever Trump tells them to do. Now, I think they did say no, because Trump said we were going to go in and escort ships through the Straits of Hormuz. And I think the Navy pushed back and said, no, we're not. We'd be sitting ducks in that strait if we went in there, you know, with Iran's missiles. So they did push back there. But I did, you know, my last video, we did the whole video on the bombing of that school. By the way, the latest numbers on that were 175. I think that's the final death toll. We incinerated 175 little girls, parents, and teachers. And everybody was saying it was AI. No, the Pentagon just came right out and said, no, that school, and this is the reason of the Israelis. This is when you know the Zionists have taken over the government. That school was full of young girls that were the daughters of the IRGC, because that's a military base there. That made them a legitimate target because they'll just grow up and be a threat to the United States. Same with what Israel does to the Palestinian kids. They say those kids will grow up and be a threat to Israel. Yeah, I'm sure they would, you know. And now, I guarantee you, every single kid that grows up in Iran is going to be an enemy of the United States. So, but just wanted to get back on that for just 1 minute. And the officers, I can't believe not a single, and that's another thing. I want to talk about the government for 1 second. You know, J.D. Vance, his career is over. I mean, I really thought he would be president in 2028 before Trump went batshit crazy. And Tulsi, she needs to disconnect herself from the Trump administration. She needs to resign in protest, and then she might be able to run again and, you know, out of Hawaii and become a congressman again or whatever she wants to do, governor there. Because remember, she was a Democrat before she joined the Trump administration. And if you didn't know, RFK Jr. checked himself into a hospital when we went to war. He wanted to get the hell out of that situation. So his being attached to the Trump administration has ruined him politically. So anyway, oh well, that's think something else. But I wanted to get you on that silver price because I always try to help you out. You know, if you could afford to buy some, buy it. I would say if you could get a fuel-efficient car at this point. But I bet those are going to be few and far between and probably expensive as hell. It's too late now. Maybe if you want, you can buy my motorcycle when I put it up for sale, when the gas price is over $6 a gallon. And, you know, that gets 100 miles to the gallon and it's easy to ride. It's really a scooter, you know, Look up ADV 150, you'll see what I'm talking about. Let's finish on a happy note. You know, Trump just campaigned in Kentucky against Thomas Massey, and somehow he got rid of Marjorie Taylor Greene. I really liked her. You know, everybody's got skeletons in their closets, and the only thing I can think of is they must have drummed up something on Marjorie. I mean, D.C. is just a den of vipers, and I'm sure that, you know, she already wanted to get out anyway. So they probably said, you know, if you resign now, because she's very active on X. If you ever get on X, she posts a lot, and you know, so she got a big bullhorn for a voice and got the hell away from Washington D.C. But anyway, poly markets are predicting massive wins in a landslide. That's great news. I tell you what, he's one of my favorite congressmen, him and Tim Burgess. And like I said, a couple of good Republicans. And one thing I wanted to point out, and you could point this out to your Democrat neighbor about us being at war right now, you do know that the Democrats were unanimous in their support for us going to war with Iran. Every single Democrat, not one was against it. At least a couple of Republicans voiced their dismay at Trump taking us to war. So if you think that the Democrats are going to keep us out of war, and they do win in a landslide, well, think again. They're more of a war party than the Republicans are.